Are you ready, Christy?
I was born ready.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, and joining me today is the co-host of the show, Christy Puttick of PackYourPixieDust.com. How you doing today, Christy?
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. We got kind of a fun show. We're going to go over your just latest trip to Disney World, and then I'm pretty excited. We're going to talk a little bit about your upcoming Panama Canal cruise. But let's start off with Disney World first. And when did you guys go, and who all went?
We went at the end of February, or end of January, rather.
Okay, and this is a planned trip, your kind of planned trip for the year before your annual pass ran out?
It was the last trip on my annual pass.
And as we've already found out, you've already booked something else.
Well, I have an addiction. It's real.
Yeah, but I thought what was exciting about this, besides your overall trip, is you guys got to stay in the new, and I'm totally drawing a blank, are they called cabins?
Yes.
So the new cabins at the Wilderness Lodge, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk to everybody about that, because they just opened, about 6 months ago, I believe, or maybe not even that long.
Yeah, in the fall, I believe.
Okay, so before we talk about the cabins, let's just talk about the overall. What did you guys do on this trip, and where did you stay besides the cabins?
So the goal, originally we were going to do 2 nights at the cabins, which we switched to 3 nights right before, like days before the trip. And then we did the remaining nights at the Polynesian.
And how hard, was it tough to get into the cabins, or what's the booking looking like for that now?
Initially, it seemed tough. And then I think maybe because of the price, people hurried to book. And then now there's availability, sort of like the bungalows at the Polynesian. These are priced lower than the bungalows, and actually in some ways are set up a little bit better. But it wasn't that difficult when I went to do it. Originally, we were going to do this trip over Martin Luther King week, and I don't remember why, if it had to do with the cabins or something else, but we pushed it back. Oh, I think because my husband's work trip, and then that way I got to have a little mini trip with my son at the beginning of January. Then we decided to push this towards the end of January so that those trips weren't back to back on top of each other. So we did. The idea was to do the cabin portion, and basically, and my mom was there for that, plus my son, who's 4.5, and my husband. And the idea was to basically just hang out at the cabins. I mean, go a little bit to Fort Wilderness and in the campground area there, and then just really stay pretty local and just utilize the cabin. And then when we went to Polynesian, that was where we did park days every day. And my mom went back home and went to work.
That seems like, if you're going to spend the money for these cabins, I mean, they're just amazing looking from the outside. I've never been on the inside, but it seems to me like that's what you'd want to almost do, is like, kind of pick a couple days, 1 or 2 or 3 days, whatever you can fit in, to kind of just really enjoy them and enjoy the resort as well.
Exactly. And we can talk about this for a minute. Wilderness Lodge, the cabins are actually what is designated as a separate property. And so those are the cabins, or Copper Creek Villas and Cabins, I believe is the official name, or Cabins and Villas, something like that. But it's Copper Creek. And okay. That is a DVC resort. People can do a cash booking. So DVC is Disney Vacation Club. That's Disney's version of the timeshare. And you can do what's called a cash booking, which is what anybody would just go and book to stay there and pay with their money. Or you can use Disney Vacation Club points. I actually did a combination where the last night was a cash stay and the first 2 nights were Disney Vacation Club points that I use of a friend of ours.
So let's talk about the cabins themselves then. What were your overall impressions of it?
We loved it. Frankly, if I could take that cabin and put it anywhere else that wouldn't cost so much per night, I would go and rent that for a week and stay anywhere that cabin was located in the United States for a week, because it was idyllic. Huge windows, and you walk in and there's a lovely entranceway. It's got 2 bedrooms. So there's the master bedroom that sleeps 2. There is the second bedroom has a queen bed, and then also has a fold out trundle bed. And that, the beds that fold out of the wall. And my son actually slept in there, and my mom slept in there. And my kid thought it was so much fun to, have this little room with his grandma. In the hall, there's a little side hallway that has a closet and has the washer and dryer, and also has another bathroom. And it's got the separated bathrooms where there's the toilet and the sink in one room, and then the shower and a sink in another room.
That's kind of nice. You can kind of, one person can be getting ready while the other person's in the shower there or whatnot. So
yes.
Yeah.
And then there's another bathroom in the master bedroom. And then there is sleeping for 3 more in the living room. There's a chair that folds out into a single. You would have to be, I believe, a little bit shorter of a person. I don't think a person like 6'9" or 6 foot tall could sleep there. But there is a sleeper chair, and then there's a fold out couch bed as well in the living room.
And there's a huge fireplace too, right?
There's a gorgeous fireplace, and it's stone. The TV's above it, which frankly isn't my favorite. I think they could have put it in the corner so that you could just enjoy that. Plus, you really have to look up. But it's a great living room. It's a great kitchen. I mean, it's the open concept. So it's the kitchen and the huge kitchen table. And then there's also a little breakfast bar type island that you can sit at as well. But the kitchen table is huge. The living room is just lovely. There's huge windows everywhere. And this place is, Disney really thought of everything. So because there could be kids or people sleeping in that room, they have the blinds that go all the way up. It's electric. So you basically push a button, and the blinds can raise and lower for all the windows so that you can darken up that room. Because everything is windows in there. It's so beautiful. And then there's the couch and a couple more sitting chairs in the living room as well. There's also a wraparound porch, and the fireplace is double-sided. There's no warmth that comes out of this fireplace. So Len Testa had talked on a previous episode that, in the summer you wouldn't use it. Well, no warmth comes out of this fireplace anyway, so that's not going to make a difference. But you can see it from both sides. And there's a couple of little rocking chairs out on the outside portion of the fireplace, so you can sit in a rocking chair and look at the fireplace, and you have Bay Lake behind you. It's so perfect. It's so perfect.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking they've got pretty big windows in the front, so if there's a walkway that goes in the front that I've walked along, and you can kind of see, but it seems like the whole thing kind of flows really out towards the water, doesn't it, as far as the windows and kind of what you're looking at?
It does. There's a hot tub out there as well. So, and then that's gated off. So if you had kids, they would, for littler kids, you don't have to be concerned about them just falling in. There is a picnic table, a beautiful picnic table. And actually the first night when we were there, we ordered room service and we ate it out. The weather was perfect because it was a little bit cooler, but not cold and not hot. And so we ate on the picnic table, and the boats for the Magic Kingdom that that come from Wilderness Lodge and the cabins go right by. It was, I don't know that I can describe the perfection that is this cabin. It really is.
So there's 2 different areas too. So one section of it looks directly out over Bay Lake. I mean, they're both on Bay Lake, but then the other one, which I think is the one you guys stayed at, you kind of have a view towards the Contemporary, the monorail, and whatnot, right?
Yes. So they made fun of me because I walked in and totally screeched and squealed because I could see the castle.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's like one of those views. I don't know if the listeners or you watch House Hunters, where it's on the HGTV channel. We watch it all the time. And the people go to these houses and they're like, you're in Chicago or whatever. You can see Lake Michigan, and you have to squint your eyes a little bit and peer, and then you can kind of see Lake Michigan. It's a little bit like that, where you can kind of see the castle. I mean, you can really see the castle, but it's just it was just the tip of the castle and just the tip of Space Mountain. So it wasn't like, you had obviously it's a side view. It wasn't a front on view, but it was the castle. And when it would light up, so at night you could see the purple, tip from the side. And then we could see the monorail. So in our family, every time you have a visual of the monorail moving, everybody, whoever notices it, we're a little bit awful, and we do this for an entire week if we're there, but we just yell out monorail. And so it was pretty constant.
Sounds like
all 3 of us do it.
Sounds like it could be a good drinking game, maybe. I shouldn't even go down that way, should I? Monorail drink.
That is another way to do it.
And this is a family-focused podcast, so...
Well, let's be realistic. Sometimes we do indulge in adult beverages, but yeah.
Yeah. So, you guys stayed there 3 days. What other things did you guys do around the resort? You said you went over to Fort Wilderness as well. So what all did you guys get to do?
Yeah, so we did. We went over to Trails End for brunch one day, which was really fun. Really good food. My son actually played on their little outdoor playground that's in that area as well. Mm-hmm. And we took the boat over there. Something to note, my mom uses a scooter because she's got some bad knees. And so we always rent a scooter. And then we had to take a scooter over. Well, the boat that goes from Wilderness Lodge to Fort Wilderness is the small boat that can accommodate a scooter. But there's a large boat that goes between the Magic Kingdom and Fort Wilderness, and that can accommodate a scooter. So what you have to do, so just for people that might need this service themselves, you let one of the captains, so whatever the next captain that comes by in usually the little boat, they will call to the big boat and say, make a stop, and then the big boat will take you over. So that's what we did in both directions. So that's how we traveled from the one location to the other.
Okay, so the big boat that's coming from Magic Kingdom to Fort Wilderness, they'll call ahead, so that one will stop at the Wilderness Lodge and then continue on to Fort Wilderness. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yes. And then when you're going back, they will just make the stop at Wilderness Lodge to drop you off.
Okay. And then did you guys eat at Wilderness Lodge as well? Did you guys go to any of the restaurants there?
Well, I really wanted to go to your favorite restaurant, Geyser Point. It just didn't work out. So we had the first night we ate the room service that we discussed. So we ate that on our porch, and that was really good. The second day, we had groceries brought in. We ordered them from Amazon Prime Now, which is a separate app for Amazon. So it's a different app than Amazon Prime. And they actually have, since they bought Whole Foods or whatever, they have a ton of options. So we were able to get real food. So for one of the lunches, we ate the food that we ordered. And then for dinner on the second night, my husband and I actually left to go to see the fireworks at the Magic Kingdom. And so my mom and son actually just made mac and cheese. We ordered like some little mac and cheese cups for them.
Perfect.
Yeah, so they had that. And then we ate breakfast at Roaring Fork the last days to be like a heavy lunch type of thing, or a heavy breakfast. And that was it. Okay. Because then we ate our food too. And I guess that was all the meals. Oh, I forgot. We ate at Raglan Road one night at Disney Springs. Yes, because it's my favorite.
Well, at least you made your favorite.
Yeah, we actually went there twice that trip, because when we added on the day, my mom, we had an extra day and we said, okay, well, we can leave the cabin to go somewhere for dinner. And she was like, well, let's go to the Irish place. And we had already had it in the reservation for later in the week. And we just said, yeah, let's go there twice. And I thought it was going to be my only trip for the year. I mean, you knew better, and realistically, I knew better, but I didn't know for sure. So I said, I got to get my fix while I can.
Yeah, don't leave it on the table when you get a chance to go, right?
That's right.
So you said it was kind of cool there. Did you guys get to use the pools at all also? They have a new pool that just opened up on the Boulder Creek side.
I walked through the area. We didn't. It was, for the first few days of the trip, it really was long pants and long sleeve shirts pretty much most of the days. Towards the end of the trip, some of the afternoons warmed up, and so we were able to go swimming at the Poly, but we weren't able to ever at Wilderness Lodge.
Well, cool. What an amazing opportunity to stay in one of the cabins, and not just for one night, but 3 fun nights, huh?
It was awesome. We were so glad, and we were so glad we extended the stay. It ended up being a lot of work because of already having a reservation and being several days before, and then not knowing if it was really working out. And I go, should I have even done this? But then once we spent the extra time there, it really was fantastic. And I would add this to a bucket list type list for people in the future. You know, it's a lot of money, but it was really special. It was really great.
Any tips as far as booking it goes? Is there like a better cabin to stay in, do you think, or like a better area? Is it something you think you need to book way in advance, or book it when you can?
I don't think booking it way in advance gives you any priority over the area, because the assigners are going to just assign the cabins 5 days or so before the arrival, just like with everything else. So booking in advance doesn't necessarily help. Availability, in theory, could. There were times, especially when it was first released, that there was different availability, where some weekends were available and some weren't. Obviously, for money-saving purposes, if you can go during the week, because it is cheaper, even if you're using DVC points, it's less DVC points to go during the week than on the weekend. So that's something to consider. And then we designated close to transportation and our cabin number so that people will know if they ever want to stay where they can see the castle. Our cabin number was 8007, and it was perfect. It was maybe one cabin away from the walkway that takes you into the back, where, like, near where the Roaring Fork is area of Wilderness Lodge, so you can get into the main building. It wasn't loud, so the boats going by weren't too loud. And the fireworks, you could see the fireworks perfectly from the porch. And so we did that, actually. And our son even stayed up one night to watch those. So that was kind of fun, because he's always asleep before the fireworks begin, or at the same time that the fireworks are beginning. So if you want to see the monorail and you want to see the fireworks, you need to be, I guess, close to the contemporary side. Everybody on that side should be able to see the fireworks. You won't all be able to see Cinderella's castle. So, but 8007 you could, so you can certainly request that. But specifically what we requested was close to either transportation or the lobby. It was one of those, it was the lobby. It was close to the lobby is what I requested, so that we could have a closer spot. The other cabins are, like you started to say, and I think we got distracted, but on the other side of Geyser Point. So that's a little bit further over.
Well, cool. So any other tips you can think of before we change subjects here, as far as booking the cabins, your stay in the cabins, or anything else?
No, do it.
Yeah.
Get food and just stay there as much. It was fantastic. It was great.
Yeah, what if you could do like a whole side industry? Because, like you said at the beginning, if I could get one of those and put it in our backyard or something like that, oh man, it would just be amazing.
Oh, for real. Or up north. I don't know. Not every state has these opportunities, obviously, but in Michigan, we have what's considered up north, and people have their houses up north, and they're, 3 to 5 hours away and go towards northern Michigan. This house would be perfect. This little cabin would be perfect up north.
Yeah.
So put on a lake somewhere.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch gears here, and
Yes.
we are going to talk about your next upcoming cruise to, where are you guys going again?
We are going through the Panama Canal.
Wow. So why did you guys decide to pick this cruise? And we were talking beforehand that it's sold out. So I guess let's talk about like why you did it and when you need to book it, because obviously you need to book it fairly soon, because this seems like a pretty popular cruise.
Yeah, we booked it opening day when it came out, which ended up being about 400. I don't know the exact math, but I believe it was about 450 days or so before the cruise. And now we are at like 25 days before the cruise, which is pretty exciting. And handicap accessible rooms, which my mom needs one because of the scooter and because of needing some of the assistance in the bathroom and things like that. Those rooms actually sold out the opening days.
Wow.
So, yeah. And what happens is sometimes people will put a hold on it and then they'll release the hold. So it is possible that some of those rooms ended up at various times back in inventory, but they still sold out. And then the concierge cabins actually sold out really quickly as well. Although I think a couple of them ended up at various times back in availability. And I mean, one of the cabins for one of the bigger suites was like $40,000 some, which I guess if you're looking at these prices now, that's just becoming commonplace. But you could really buy that cabin in some communities for 40. So changing subjects. But yeah, so they sell out right away. And so if you want to go, you kind of do need to book, or you just need to stalk it. So I'm a part of the Facebook group for this cruise, and we would see various cabins people would post coming up, or my friends want to cruise now. If anybody knows of somebody's canceling a cabin, please let us know. So it was very popular. It's a long cruise. It's 2 weeks long. I think when you're coming back from the other direction, so we're doing westbound. If you're coming eastbound, then I believe it's 15 nights, but I could be wrong about that. It's 13 or 15. I know they're one night off.
Okay.
Go on.
Oh, I've got it pulled up, and the westbound or the eastbound one is 14 nights. It's a 14-night Halloween on the high seas in 2018, leaving October 19th. It looks like there's still availability right now. So if this is on your bucket list to go the opposite way, maybe jump on it and take a look at it.
Yeah. So and I think the cabin availability comes and goes. So, and it will, especially leading up to final payment, because people then it's time. Okay, am I really going to take this much time off work? Am I really going to pay for all of this? And that's the reality. You have to really think about that. For us, we just kept going back and forth. And I mean, until the 2 days before the cruise opened, I couldn't decide whether we should take this cruise. We originally had it on a list to do, and then I took it off and said it's just too long. I don't think my son would want to be on a trip that long. And then we brought it back, and I said, I can't let this one go. I have done a previous cruise through the Panama Canal, and it is so awesome. The engineering, right? The thought process to say, and I still don't even understand how this happens, where oceans are at different levels. My mind cannot really conceptualize that. And then that somebody said, hey, let's make these rooms essentially and raise and lower the water so that vessels can go from one elevation to another. It's fascinating. And I'm not even a science, girl for the most part, but this is just so cool. We have the Soo Locks in Michigan, in northern Michigan, and I've gone up there a few times, and I just stare, and I'll have whoever I'm with goes, okay, are we done? No, because another boat is going to come and go through this lock, and it's just a little teeny tiny lock in, northern Michigan, and yet it's still awesome to watch this whole raising and lowering of the water. It's fascinating to me. So yes, I'm a little bit of a dork in that regard, but I can't help it. It's just exciting. So yeah, when I was back to deciding whether we should go, I just said, yeah, we need to do it. My son is starting kindergarten in the fall, and it'll be that much harder to take 2 weeks off to go on vacation. And so we don't really have any reason, work, paying bills, but any reason not to. So that's why we decided to do it.
Sounds like the perfect time. Like you said, you're with your son starting kindergarten in the fall, kind of gives you that opportunity to do that last. It's just a good time for you and your family to be able to take this vacation. And then just having the interest in the Panama Canal as well. Plus, 2 weeks on a Disney ship. Who's going to complain about that, right?
I know. Oh my God. I can't even wait.
Okay. So this one you guys leave out of, does it leave out of Miami or is it Port Canaveral?
Port Canaveral.
Okay.
We are not doing a pre-stay at Disney World, so that's a change for us. And in the past, your options at Port Canaveral are basically do a day or sometime at Disney World, even to go to Disney Spring, or stay by the airport, or go to Cape Canaveral. We are actually this time going to stay in Cape Canaveral for the first time. I have never stayed out there, and so we decided to do something a little different.
Well, that's good. Is there? I've never been out to Cape Canaveral. I know they have the whole NASA complex out there, so I'm guessing there's quite a few hotels that are available for the ports as well.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys are staying in Port Canaveral for the night before the cruise leaves, and it's 14 days. So let's talk a little bit about the itinerary and where it goes, and we'll just kind of follow it along a little bit and what you guys are planning on doing.
So really cool. This is the first year that the Panama Canal cruise is stopping at my favorite place, Castaway Cay. So shockingly, we have a cabana booked, and we are spending our day at the beach in a cabana. We are all very excited. So that's basically on tap for that day.
Okay. So day 1 is the sail away, and then day 2, you guys are at Castaway Cay with the cabana.
Yeah. So right there, bam, vacation, cruise is starting. We're not even doing any major anything with the ship. It's just like, go to dinner the first day, do your sail away party, and bam, Castaway Cay. So
relax, kick back, enjoy the cabana. Anything special you guys want to do there besides that on Castaway Cay this time?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, if you got the cabana and you've got the ocean in front of you, that's a pretty good deal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. For us, that'll be perfection. It should be nice and warm in April, and so we should really have a nice beach day.
Okay, so then it looks like the next 2 days you're at sea. And
Yes.
what are some of the things that you guys are hoping to do to kind of fill your time at sea? Maybe some things that you guys like to do on board.
Well, my son really does like the pictures with the characters, and this is the first time. I think this is our sixth Disney cruise. No, seventh, eighth. I don't know. I should probably count, but seventh. We are actually getting the picture package, which we've never gotten before. So we'd usually just pick a picture and buy that. But this time we're getting the package, and my son loves seeing all the characters. So my mom and he actually, it's, adventures. So that's what they call it. They go on adventures. So they will go on adventures to see the characters. So I suspect that'll happen right at the beginning as well. And since we have the picture package, we definitely want all the cute photos. We also, my husband and I really like to read. And so while Blake and my mom are off doing their adventures, we will probably be in the adult area just hanging out and reading. And so I can't wait to see how many books we can get through. The one advantage of not having the internet as accessible on these types of trips is you really get to just read. And so to us, that'll be fun. We will for sure go to the seminars on the Panama Canal. So they bring on speakers and they will do different lectures about the canal. And so my husband and I will attend those. There's some movies that my husband wants to see. So that is going to be, there's not that many that I want to see, honestly. As we've talked about, I'm not really into the Marvel scene. So he'll probably, though, go and see Black Panther. He will probably go and see the Star Wars movies if they play them. He'll probably get as much out of the theater as he can. What else? We are going to actually have Blake go to the kids club without us for the first time, too, which I realize is really, you've been on this many cruises and he hasn't gone. Well, one of the reasons is that my mom is there, and when he's not doing stuff with us, he is doing adventures with her. And so that's obviously taking away, but for 14 days, it'll be good. And I think he's at the point now where playing with other kids, it really is important for him, and he is more open to the idea. Part of our pre-cruise group, too, is talking with other parents that have younger kids that are going as well in that same age range, and that don't already have, a friend or a sibling going to the kids club, so that these kids can meet up ahead of time and make friends and go to the kids club together. So I'm excited to see how he likes that as well. I hope he likes it. I hope he doesn't like it, though, where he's crying when we come and get him. Right? I want that mix. I don't want him to be gone the entire time in the kids club, but I really do want him to enjoy it.
Right. That's a good tip. So, by using your Facebook group, meeting up with people ahead of time or making connections with people ahead of time, so you could find maybe some kids that are similar, haven't spent a lot of time in the kids club, having that opportunity to maybe meet up ahead of time. That's a great tip, kind of a way to work it for maybe kids that might be a little bit more, I don't want to say nervous is the right word, but just haven't used the kids club as much.
Right. And, there are shy kids. My son loves playing with other kids, but how do you just send them into a group and say, go find a friend? That's intimidating.
I was kind of thinking about it too. I mean, they have so many different activities in there. Like they have, I can't remember the name of it. It's like Crazy Science, and then they have, the baking cookies. So you could maybe you could attack it that way too, where instead of just dropping them off, there's just people going everywhere doing things. You can, kind of pick that time where show up just before it's time to make cookies, get them in that group with kids making the cookies, and then they kind of tend to pair up or can meet some kids that way too. That might be, if you don't have that Facebook group that is working out for you, that might be a way to attack the kids clubs as well.
Well, that's a great tip. And it's a great way for me to get him excited. You're going to do this activity. And so that could get him excited about it too. Because we've gone into the kids club during open house with him before, and he has enjoyed it. And we've even discussed the idea with him on our last cruise. There just wasn't that 5-night double dip cruise that we did last. There just wasn't enough time even. It was just, it's crazy because you're spending the full day at the beach on those Castaway Cay days. There just wasn't enough time. Yeah, I'm hoping he'll get more into the idea.
I'm sure they will.
That's a great idea to do it during with an activity. So that's a great tip.
Especially because, the counselors are so good on there that they can gauge the kids as far as, who's shy and who's outgoing. And I've seen, like, with our oldest, he's, I mean, our youngest, excuse me, he's like super outgoing and he's loud and everything else. But, going in there, I've seen like, the counselors were, kind of hanging out with the kids that might be a little bit more shy and, kind of doing activities with them or getting them, hey, come on over, we're going to do some drawing or whatever else. And so it's an opportunity, I think, that they work with the kids to kind of, keep them happy and maybe bring about some of that, or kind of break down some of those walls of that shyness or something like that to actually being in there and having a good time.
That's great. I can't wait. I can't wait to report back and let you know too how it goes. I really hope. I hope it's successful for him.
Oh, I bet you have a great time.
Yes. That second C day, we also have the character breakfast. So, which they do on most of the cruises that I think have to be 5 or days or longer. I need to probably figure out what the real rule on that is, but so they have character breakfasts on some of the sailings. There's no additional charge, and we are signed up to do one on that second sea day.
And you do that ahead of time as far as, well, you guys are sailing concierge, so they can kind of take care of that for you. But for everybody else, you do that when you start booking your onboard experiences, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we still had to tell them. we had to request.
Right, yeah. I know you had to do a little bit of work, so
I had to send an email.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, going back to reading, Kindle. So do you bring the books with you, or do you read via Kindle, or what do you guys do there?
Yeah, we used to be big proponents of bringing the books until we started having to take a child and then packing luggage spaces at a premium. So we use our iPads. I have an iPad mini, and my husband has a regular sized iPad, I guess. So we preload, and we use the Kindle app. We just do it through the iPad. So we preload the books on there ahead of time, and then take them with us.
Yeah, I'm kind of a fan of the Kindles as well. I use the app on my iPad usually. So, hey, I just looked it up. Character Breakfast is on select cruises of 7 nights or longer.
Oh, so, there you go.
There you go. Okay, so 2 days at sea, and then I don't want to butcher it because I'm definitely not a Spanish speaker, but then you're into Cartagena, Colombia, I believe?
Cartagena,
okay.
Colombia.
So what are you guys going to do there?
We are doing a pool and beach day. My son, I don't think, would be really into sitting on a bus and getting a tour of a location, but what he is into is swimming in a pool. He also isn't a big fan of how crowded the Disney ships' pools are, and he's also not a fan that he can't just, with the pools that have zero entry or at least steps that you can walk in and walk out. So he likes all of that freedom of being able to move about the pool the way he wants and not be terribly crowded, so I guess he's a pool snob. I don't know, but he's very particular. So we are doing basically a pool day. So I booked it right through Disney. I had to email ahead of time to ensure, because they feed us, that I could eat with my food restriction because I can't have gluten. And they were able to confirm that it is offered.
So you guys spent a pool day there. Just like doing research for something like this, did you ask a lot of questions on the Facebook to see what people are doing too? Or did you just rely on the Disney website, or what else? Or how else did you look as far as when you're looking at the destinations you're going to?
I looked there are some books that talk about cruise ports. And so I did do that. And then I also just looked at what Disney provided. When we're traveling with my son, we do prefer to just stick, for the most part, if we're going to do an actual excursion versus, going to, I guess we do it a little bit both. But if we're going to do something like an excursion, where it's something you're going to book and go to and not just, go to a beach, we do like to use Disney's or the cruise lines offerings, just because I do feel it's easier for one. And I do feel it's a little bit safer when my son is involved. Yeah, we just looked to see what they offered. There has been a lot of chatter in the Facebook groups about what people are doing, because I kind of had an opinion as to what I wanted to do in the beginning. I didn't participate too much in those conversations, but they were occurring.
Okay. Well, then you go on to the Panama Canal, and that's day 6, which is going to be amazing, I'm sure. So what is really cool, like you're talking about, that they've got a historian on board that is talking about the Panama Canal, maybe the history, how it works, and everything else. They have those also on the Alaska cruises, which was amazing. When we went to Norway, they actually had a historian on that they brought over from, and these aren't just like, Bob that knows his history. Nothing wrong with Bob. But the historian that we had in Norway was an actual professor of ancient civilizations, and he I'm drawing a blank which university back on the East Coast, but he came with in probably 4 or 5 of the days he did presentations on kind of the history of Norway and the Vikings and the Norsemen. So it's kind of cool that they do that on these kind of specialty cruises to kind of give you a background on what you're going to see.
That is very cool. Yeah, and those are the types of things I like. I would go to those lectures. I am not necessarily, none of us are, frankly, in my little house, the ones that want to sit on a bus and get a tour where we learn all of that. But to hear a lecture ahead of time, knowing going in and then being able to see it, that is of interest to us.
And they usually have them in the movie theaters, or either they're in the movie theater or the big Walt Disney Theater. And they're not boring at all. I mean, if you think you're just going to go in there and have somebody kind of rambling and droning on, I mean, they had pictures, and in the Norway one, they had music where he kind of played music that kind of fit the era of what he was talking about. So it's a pretty cool, and I mean, I think they usually run about 50 minutes is all, so you're not going to be in there for hours. But yeah, the time went by quick, and you learn a lot, and every one of them that I've been to has been really fun.
Awesome.
So, well, cool. So Panama Canal, and I'm guessing you're going to spend a lot of time either on your balcony or kind of wandering around the ship and watching it as you guys go through.
Yeah, the Wonder had a reimagining last year, and part of that was to throw in, and we talked about this a little bit on a previous show, but was to put in the concierge deck and lounge, and they have a lot of open space and a lot of deck space that actually has views of the ocean, whereas the Dream class ships do not. And so that we can even utilize that space to see a lot of it, which I'm excited about too. So they'll definitely be being on the open deck as well as being on our balcony to see what we can see, and then going to my mom's balcony, which I believe is in the back of the ship, and to see what we can see from back there as well.
And that's kind of a cool tip, too. If you're traveling with a group, we've done that where we have one cabin on one side of the ship, and then our friends have booked a cabin on the other side of the ship, so that depending upon where you are, if the view's better on one side than the other, then you can kind of use your friend's balcony if you're kind of traveling with a group. So that's kind of cool that you've got that back one, too.
Yes.
Yeah. So how long does it take, do you remember, to go through the Panama Canal? Is it most of the day?
Yes, it's shorter, I believe, now. So last year was the first, and I believe it was the fall trip. So just for people, too, we didn't say this. There are 2 sailings from Disney every year to the Panama Canal. And that is, they use that trip to reposition the ship. So they go from the Caribbean side, basically, through the Panama Canal and end up in California. And then eventually that ship goes up to Alaska to do the tours. When Alaska season's over, they come back down and then back to the Panama and then back to Florida. During the west or the eastbound trip in the fall, I believe, was the Disney ship was actually the very first ship that used the new locks.
It was the very first cruise ship that used the new locks. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so for them, that was a big deal. But it's a little bit shorter now. So I guess you lose a little something because the locks are bigger, so it can accommodate more, which obviously makes sense in today's world. Even, look at new parking lots that get put in have to have bigger spaces in some areas because cars are bigger or whatever the situation is. Although sometimes cars are smaller, right? Because remember, those cars were huge. But anyway, so they have to accommodate bigger ships, and so it is bigger. But back in the day, when I went on a Panama Canal cruise in '98, there was like inches on each side of the lock. Inches! Like, could you imagine driving a huge ship through something and only having inches on each side? It was amazing. So I think you'll lose a little bit not having that, but I guess they gain some time because it takes about an hour less. So yeah, it used to go from like 6 to 5:30, and so now it's like 7:30 or 8. And obviously each time could be different because you never know, right, what the traffic and how it's going to look and what other ships or if there's any problems or things like that. So it could take any amount of time, but they kind of have a plan, and it's basically the day.
That's pretty cool. What an amazing experience. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts about that when you get back.
I can't wait to share them.
And historically, it's been the Wonder that has always done this back and forth through the Panama Canal. It goes up to Alaska. When they get the next 3 ships, chances are watching Norwegian, Royal, and some of the other cruise lines put bigger ships up into Alaska. That's a possibility. Maybe the Dream or the Fantasy, or maybe even one of the newer ships might be eventually going back and forth. But right now, it's always been the Wonder that is on this itinerary.
Yes.
From the Panama Canal, you're back at a day at sea. So and after your stressful day watching the Panama Canal, you can relax and enjoy yourself again at sea again.
Yeah. So we have our brunch day, or a brunch at Palo that next sea day.
Okay.
So that'll be exciting for my husband and I.
Are you guys going to do dinner? Or I know you're a brunch fan, but...
Yeah, so my compromise for my marriage is that I have to go. It's not a very hard compromise, but
yeah.
Brunch is my favorite, but dinner is my husband's, and so we do both. So yeah, we originally had it on Pirate Night, but Pirate Night was the day 10. And so we were having these 2 meals back to back, and I'm like, it's a 14-day cruise. I mean, this is ridiculous to do it back to back. So it's moved. I don't remember where it is, but it's a different night now.
Okay. So after that strenuous day at sea and brunch, you are at sea again.
Yeah. Very exciting.
And it looks like they have a pirate deck party, so they do the pirate night along
Yes.
this sailing as well. On the westbound, it looks like because of the time of year, they do Halloween. But this time of year, I guess there's no specialty parties other than the pirate deck party, it looks like. Another day at sea, it looks like. Am I wrong on that?
A lot of days at sea.
Yeah, 3 days at sea in a row there to kind of, get yourself ready to attack your next port, which eventually on day 12 is beautiful Puerto Vallarta.
It is, but we missed one. We missed Costa Rica in there.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I was going to say.
And I think it's because we don't have anything booked.
Oh.
So Costa Rica.
Yes, it's day at sea, Costa Rica, day at sea, day at sea. Gotcha. So you get a day at sea, Panama Canal, day at sea, Costa Rica. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah. Everything, regardless of who you were to book through, is very far from the port. And so, because everything kind of occurs in the middle of Costa Rica, and so ship stock at the end or whatever, so the outer edges, everything is an hour and a half to more away if you wanted to do any experiences. And so we are not. I don't know. Potentially my husband and I will get off. I guess there's a tiny bit to do in port. I understand that it's not very much, but we opted against it. You can do, when I did the Panama Canal cruise in 98, my brother and I went white water rafting. And that was a ton of fun and would be something that would be totally probably illegal in the United States with liability issues, would never be allowed. But somehow we did it back then. It was very involved. I feel like you should have been more experienced to do the whitewater rafting that we did. It was really cool. There's monkeys are known to be is a known animal of Costa Rica. And so there are a lot of just monkeys and birds and really cool wildlife to see there. But we've opted to not spend a very long part of the day traveling to get to something.
Yeah, like it ends up just being a long day if you're on a bus that long sometimes. And since your son's a little bit younger, I mean, they have so many cool things, like you said, whitewater rafting, zip lining, a lot of kind of outdoor adventure type stuff. And he's just a little bit young for that. So, yeah, not a bad plan.
So that is in the schedule, and we are doing nothing.
Okay, so then we move on. We talked about your days at sea, and we come to Puerto Vallarta on day 12. So just a couple days left, but there you are in Puerto Vallarta. Have you been there before?
I have been there a few times. So the plan is, we're still waiting actually for confirmation that I can eat there. But the plan is, which maybe somebody should follow up soon. Plan is we're doing another beach day. And it also has, I believe, a pool. Well, it does. It has pools and it has restaurants. And I think it's kind of like a resort that we're going to. And again, we just, for ease, for the taxis and all of that, we just booked it right through Disney. So we're going to give my son another day to play at the pool and stuff.
There's some amazing places you can go in Puerto Vallarta. I will just throw this out. Do not swim in the ocean in the bay there, Banderas Bay. I'll just be honest, they dump raw sewage into the bay. And yeah, people have gotten sick and beyond that by swimming in Banderas Bay. But if you go on the other side of the peninsula, on kind of the more Gulf side, it's totally safe to swim there. And my guess is, I was trying to look it up quick. It looks like there's like 5 pools where you are, so obviously the pools are totally safe. But just be aware that Banderas Bay, do your research ahead of time, but it's not the place you really want to be swimming. But on the other side, where the open part of the Gulf of Mexico is, or not the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of California, there's tons of surfing and just these cool little surf towns, and it's definitely safe to go swimming there. So depending upon where I was trying to look it up quick, but I'm not going to be able to find it fast enough where your resort is. Just an FYI as far as swimming in Banderas Bay.
That's a great tip.
Yeah. So, well, cool. I love Puerto Vallarta. It's like one of my favorite places. It's a beautiful place. So it's a little bit more tropical than your next port when you end up in Cabo.
Yes. So Cabo, the plan is actually we are going to do a resort for the day, my husband and I. And I guess it is time that I need to reach out to a resort and ask them for a tour. So, which is something people can book on their own resort for days. And there are several. I think there's actually resortforday.com which sells them. As a travel agent, I am going to reach out so that I can actually get a tour of a property while we're there. And so that is the plan, that my mom will keep Blake and they will have adventures on the ship. And then Dave and I will go off.
Cool. And just if you've never been to Mexico this side, once again, Cabo has like tons of cool things you could do there. They have like they have snorkeling, you can go up and do horseback riding, you can do zip lining. They have these like cool like dune buggy things where they'll take you out and you go along these trails in the dune buggies out through some of the mountain areas there. It's just a kind of a fun place where you can do a lot of different things if you're into kind of like that adventure type stuff as well. So,
awesome.
And then, wow, after all that, you guys are finally back into San Diego on day 14.
Yeah. So, well, it's actually, I guess, day 15.
Oh, day 15, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's 14 nights. So day 14, we're still at sea. So we have one last day, which is awesome. I love that it's ending on a sea day. So we have one last day to really get to enjoy everything and then figure out how to pack 2 weeks worth of stuff and go to California.
Yeah, I love that when you have a day at sea, that last day kind of gives you a chance to relax a little bit before you have to get off the ship.
Yeah, I do too.
So, and then you guys are heading up to Disneyland after that too, aren't you?
I know. I'm so excited. I think we had talked about that. I booked the Disneyland stay prior to my in-laws indicating that we are all going to Alaska this summer. So I was like, oh, yeah, we're fine on vacation time. We can go. And then, of course, 3 days later, once the airfare is not refundable anymore, they said, hey, let's go to Alaska. So we're stuck at that point, which is it's not a bad thing to be stuck with. But we are going to Disneyland for 3 nights after. I'm equally excited. I mean, I know I just keep saying I'm really excited, but I'm really excited about everything. My son is just going to die in Cars Land. I cannot wait to show him Cars Land. He is still very much into all things Lightning McQueen. If he walked into our house, you would want to send in a service or something. But there's so much Lightning McQueen. So he is going to love Cars Land.
Has he been there before? I'm totally drawing a
No.
blank. Okay. Wow. Yeah, he's going to really love that. And then especially like Radiator Racers. That's a super fun ride.
We watched it on YouTube, and which isn't something we typically do, but I wanted to kind of make sure he knows he's not going to just talk to Lightning McQueen. But I do know that Lightning McQueen people can get a picture just like we can with Cruise, and he has done that at Hollywood Studios. So he'll be a little bit familiar. But yeah, so that's our trip.
What an amazing trip. So I can't wait to hear about it. And it's just coming up, in a little over 2 weeks? A month.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's 4 weeks from Sunday.
Okay.
From last Sunday, so.
Wow. And you guys fly in the day before, right? I know we talked about it, but you're flying in the day before and staying, so it's not 2 days, just the 1 day. Well, what an amazing trip. I am totally stoked for you guys, and I can't wait to hear back all about your travels there to through the Panama Canal and Disneyland.
I can't wait to tell you about them.
Yeah. So, okay, between now and then, we want to thank everybody for coming back and taking a listen to us here on the DCL podcast. Between now and then, where can people find you if they want to contact you or maybe even book a trip with you, Christy?
PackYourPixieDust.com has all my contact information on it, but I am on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram with all the same handle.
And we are also, Christy runs the Instagram page, which one of these days I've got to jump on there and finally get into Instagram as well. But she runs the DCL podcast page. So if you have any pictures, send them to us and she'll get them posted on there as well. And I guess something we haven't really talked about lately, but you can listen to us not only here on Apple Podcasts, depending on where you're listening, Apple Podcasts, which is really, most people still call it iTunes. But we are also on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And you can always go, if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you can go to DCLpodcast.com and listen to it there as well. So a lot of different places where you can listen to us.
Yeah, good job, Steve, with that.
Yeah, so, well, thanks again for jumping on. It was fun talking to you, Christy, and unless you have anything else, we'll just say goodbye, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
Sounds good. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. I do apologize. It's been a couple-week break, but spring break kind of got in the way for our family. But we're back and looking to try and get a show out every Tuesday for you. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming back and listening to the DCL Podcast. If you would like to come on and share your experiences, either through a Disney cruise that you've recently taken or through an Adventures by Disney trip that you've taken, you can reach out to me on Facebook at DCL Podcast, also on Twitter at DCL Podcast as well. And of course, you can always find Christy over at packyourpixiedust.com. If you need any help with your travel needs, she's always there and available to help you out if you are looking for a travel agent. She does such a great job and just has such a knowledge for Disney Cruise Line, Disney World, and pretty much everything Disney. So if you're looking for a travel agent, go ahead and try her at packyourpixiedust.com. Also, you can reach her on Facebook at packyourpixiedust and on Twitter at packyrpixiedust. So between now and our next show, if you're heading out on your next adventure, all of us here at the DCL Podcast would like to wish you fair winds and safe journeys as you head out on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.